So you use one or the other of these expressions. So for contending, I was reminding you of that analogy of sitting in the room and engaged in a conversation with other authors. Okay, so you are contending with whom? You are contending uh, with the writers who have written about the same topic that you are taking, that you are analyzing for your paper. Okay, let me just admit some of the students. Okay. Sometimes you also take a position on a particular topic. Okay. And you write a paper which actually, reflects a unique position that you take about a particular topic. Okay. In this case, you might pick on a text, a primary text. I'll say something about primary text later on, but you pick on a primary text on which you do not find many of the write-ups by other people. And therefore, in the case of that particular piece of writing, you might not be able to make a contention with the other authors. So the room analogy might not apply on that case. So then you say that the writer's posits, or I posit, and then you describe what is your position about that particular piece of writing. In some less often cases, we can use the word argue as well. But basically, the problem with the word argue is that argument is an essential, it is an essential second line of defense in favor of the contention that you make, or in favor of the position that you take. Okay, so therefore argue is not a recommended expression for a thesis statement or contention. In some cases you can use that as well. All right, so you write the contention in present tense, and keep the objective of the contention in mind. That will kind of help you to write a stronger contention. Your contention usually makes an intervention. It describes the intervention that you make. Intervention into a field, or intervention into the criticism, existing criticism on a primary text. Sometimes your contention might describe the intervention in a particular theory as well. Okay, that is a little less often case. Your contention might claim a reinterpretation. Of course, reinterpretation is not another interpretation, rather reinterpretation is a different interpretation. Or your contention might describe a contribution that your paper or your research is making. Okay, so often you do not use these words, intervention, reinterpretation, or contribution, in the contention as such, but your contention must imply, it must show to the reader that an intervention is being made, a reinterpretation is being done, or a contribution is being made through this particular research. So you also have then, now we are moving on to the next stage of writing your paper. After choosing your topic and after having a contention, you need to identify your primary and secondary texts. And largely the difference is kind of obvious, but still, if some of you have the first exposure to these terms, primary text is the text on which you are writing your paper, or that is the subject of your analysis. It could be a painting. So for example, the midterm that I gave you, that was in fact an exercise in paying attention to a primary text. So the painting which I pasted in the midterm question that was your primary text for the sake of that particular exam. Okay, so primary text is the subject of your study. It could be a film, it could be a literary text, or it could be a painting. On the other hand, the secondary texts are the ones which support your research, which help you to undertake the research that you plan to undertake. So the secondary texts, the best example of the secondary texts are the research papers that you find published on the same topic on which you are writing your paper. All right. Now, having known what are the primary and secondary texts, the question is how to choose a primary text. Give me a second. Okay, students, sorry. Now, so how to choose a primary text? Having a topic and a contention, of course, implies that you already have mentioned your primary text over there. So in a kind of orderly fashion, this question should come first. But, we are putting it later because when you write a paper, you kind of mention your primary and secondary text after the contention itself. Sometimes you mention the primary text within the contention too. I mean, that is the most common practice. But you need to know what are the bases on which you should choose a primary text. You cannot randomly choose a primary text. Okay. If you choose a primary text randomly, that the quality of your research will suffer. Okay. So the first criteria, I mean, these are three criteria, but I'm sure there are others too, but these are the ones that you should keep in mind, at least, while you are at this level of your studies. So the first criterion that you should keep in mind is that the primary text you choose, it should be a representative text. It could be, of course, in film or painting, or in literature. But of course, there are a number of understandings of what is a representative text. Now, a representative text could be a major text in a field. For example, you can say Pakistani literature, it is a field, or Pakistani fiction, it is a field. So a representative text in that particular field, okay, in the broader area. Or by representative text, we might mean a text which is representative in a particular theme, for a particular theme. For example, the major feminist texts. Or a representative text could be by a particular author. You might say that you plan to work on Thomas Hardy. Okay, so Thomas Hardy he wrote quite a number of novels, and he wrote some poetry as well. So you choose a text by Thomas Hardy, which is a representative work by him. So these are a few criteria, for few contexts in which the fact of being representative applies. So, for example, if you say you want to work on war literature, that is the broader field, general field you have in mind. You narrow it down and you think of some of the writers who have written about war. Now, I have seen some of the researches undertaken by some students who have chosen some of the investigative journalism writings as pieces of writing which could be representative of war literature. I would say that probably is a mistake. So when you say war literature or war novel or war poetry for that matter, you should be able to choose the writers which are literary representatives, or which are literary representatives of of the writings about war. Okay, taking something which, for example, falls in the category of popular literature and treating it as a representative is I will suggest a mistake. Unless you decide to work on popular literature, that is something else. Okay, if you choose the field of popular literature and you want to conduct your research on that will have its own, details, and you will have the justifications within that field. Okay, that is something else. But anything other than popular literature you want to write on and you want to conduct your research on, then take something which is representative. Now if you think of that mid exam that I shared with you the question and you responded to that, so I took a painting. Now that painting was by Mehwish Chishti, and she had the painting um, about drone. Okay, about a drone. And she used truck art in order to make that painting. So if you research a little bit about what we call drone art, you would realize that there are just a few people who have worked in this field. And as far as drone art from Pakistan is concerned, Mehwish Chishti is just one of two or three others. That way her work becomes representative work. Okay, so what I'm trying to imply is best known is not necessarily representative. Okay, but then at the same time, as we come to the second criteria that we apply on the primary research, in some other cases the best known work could be the representative one. Okay, so you have to kind of identify the thin line between being representative and best known works. Probably you should apply both of them together, that a work should be a representative work, but at the same time best known as well. Or you can look at the work as being best known, but double check that the best known work is representative at the same time. Now, there are some other cases where you find a piece of writing which is minor but significant. Now, the qualification of that work to be a significant work is a qualification most probably from your side. You as a researcher might have come across a piece of writing, a film, or a painting which is not in mainstream literature, and you still want to work on it, and you have a solid reason for that. There is something significant in that work. Now the burden of proof is on you in that case. You have to then argue that why this work is so significant that despite being minor, it requires representation and it requires some research. Okay, I won't suggest you to experiment with minor literature as a grad student. Okay, because you will be, I mean, probably for your classwork you will be absolutely fine, but for your independent thesis it will be a little hard for you to defend it unless your supervisor is with you and your supervisor also wants you to carry that work on. That, I mean, in that case things are different, but mostly you should avoid this minor category of primary text during your grad work. Okay, now while choosing a primary text, please be particular about the edition of that text that you choose. Don't randomly pick any edition, because you are going to cite that primary text over and over again in your paper. You're going to provide, of course, the page numbers, and you are going to quote over here and there. So use an edition which is scholarly. Use an edition which is broadly available, so that when your reader reads your research paper, the reader should be able to identify the source and double check the quotations that you have used. Or your reader might be interested in exploring the work herself or himself. In that case, you should try to use an edition which is broadly available. And also, please identify that source. Don't think that you don't need to mention first edition, second edition, Penguin India edition or Penguin UK edition or whatever edition it is. Okay, so you must identify the particular edition. Don't just name the text, rather mention the edition as well, so that your reader should be able to locate it. Also, it sounds scholarly when you mention the edition of the work. Okay, so you have chosen your primary text, and now to choose the secondary text. Okay, well, the biggest advice for choosing a secondary text is that choose a secondary text which actually helps you to undertake your research. Okay, but where will you find them? The first resort for you is the first help that you will get is from bibliographies. Okay, I put Gestor over here. Usually bibliographies don't ask for subscription. Okay, please check with that, but you can find bibliographies at other sources as well. So MLA International Bibliography is one good source of finding the bibliographies on various topics. Okay, so you will just put in the topic, you will just key in the topic, and then you will find bibliographies related to that particular topic. If not the topic, the primary author you are working on or the primary text you are working on, key in the title or the name of the author, and you will find bibliographies on those topics. You can read through the titles, you can mark those titles which are really useful for you or which you find to be useful for you. Take down those titles in your own Word file, and that will be a step towards choosing your secondary text. Now, less explored source of bibliographies is the library online catalogs. Most of the libraries globally, they have their library catalogs online, and they are free of cost, just the catalogs. If you try to find the full length source, they won't give you access to that unless you have subscription. But you can look at the titles, and that is a very big help when you are at the step of choosing your secondary text. Okay, you can leave that task of getting hold of the source to a later time. To begin with, you need the titles. Okay, in most of the cases, along with the titles, you find a very brief description, what we call annotation, about that particular article as well. In some cases, for example, Taylor and Francis, they provide you the abstract as well, and the abstract is free of cost. Okay, you can read that abstract to determine whether that secondary source is a direct help for your research or not. All right, so so these are the sources. In addition to that, you can also find the titles and the authors of quite a number of works on the websites which have various theses and dissertations on them. So it is called what is it? It's a very famous online dissertation libraries. Let me just put this here. Dissertation online libraries. I'll share with you the name later. I mean, I have my own dissertation abstract over here, but I'm missing the name right now. But that is a huge database. Okay, countless dissertations and theses are uploaded over there. It is a global database of dissertations and theses which people have done during their masters and PhD. So you can find the titles and the abstracts on these repositories of dissertations. And the good thing about them is that, of course, you can read the abstract and then you can decide if the if that published dissertation is helpful for you or not. But additionally, sometimes you find the contact information of the writer as well. And these dissertation writers are, usually novice scholars, young scholars, and you can send them an email if you want to have look at complete dissertation. Many of them have their dissertation displayed over there without any charge to you. So that is one thing you should understand. You can just download the dissertation and look at the bibliography at the end and use that for your own purposes. That is one thing. But if you find that the dissertation has subscription required, in that case, you can just send an email to the writer, and hopefully the writer would be nice enough to share with you the text of the dissertation or part of that, part of the text with you. Okay. All right. So we are at the step of now. Of course, we have the topic with us and we have a contention with us. We know what are our primary sources, and we are tentatively know what are our secondary resources. And now, of course, all that has taken place through conducting research already. Okay, but it is a kind of, this is the only way we can understand all these things, in a particular order. So all this happens through conducting research, and you are still in the process of conducting research. So these are some of the places where you can carry out your research. The first advice for that would be that try to begin your research from some reference works. Quite a number of encyclopedia are available online without any cost to you. Okay, so the terms you want to work on, somebody wants to work on, for example, empire, or somebody wants to work on human rights, or maybe drone warfare, or name any topic. Begin the search for that topic from the reference work. In many cases, the reference works also provide a list of additional resources. Okay, now this is a systematic way to move, staying within the academic context. Okay, that will save a lot of labor on your part if you start looking for the the initial interpretation of the terms that you are using. You start looking for them right from the authentic sources, from the reference works, instead of randomly going online and looking for the detail here and there, which probably you cannot even cite because the websites you are using, they are not authentic. Okay, so instead of doing that, just go right to the major encyclopedias, which are, Oxford, for example, has put on many encyclopedias online. So go directly into them and find the definitions of the basic words over there. There could be some dictionaries that you can use. There could be some, dictionaries of literary terms and literary theories that you can look for. There could be some dictionaries of keywords that you can look for. There's a big range of reference works, but try to begin your research from there. Do not assume that you are aware of the basic meanings of the word that you are using in your topic or in your thesis statement. The second, of course, step is then to contact the libraries, visit them or online libraries, and create your account over there, develop contacts within the library, and and that is crucial for you as a researcher. There is no way that you can complete your research without heavily depending upon the research, upon the libraries. Okay, some libraries have research help desk. FC College Library has that. I'm not really sure about its effectiveness. Okay, you can go to this link. You can just open up FCC library, and they have this, button over there for research help desk. Okay, and then they have their email ID of the person who deals with it. Okay, you can try. So you can ask, quite a range of questions from the research help desk. You are looking for a piece of writing, you are not able to get hold of that, send them an email that you need this article. Tell them you don't have access to JSTOR or whatever offline, and you need that article. Keep sending those requests to them. That is their job. Okay, basically, I'm not really sure over here, but in my own university at the library, usually if I ask for an article, I used to get it within a couple of hours. Um, if the library did not have the article within the library and it needed to be scanned and emailed from some other library, they used to do it within a couple of hours. Okay, it's not that hard, but depends upon the effectiveness of this library. I don't know how it works. You might still be in touch with your libraries where you did your undergrads. Okay, I'm not sure how it will work. If officially you cannot request anybody, I'm sure you can request unofficially. Okay, you might have friends over there and ask them to use their own accounts and get you the material you want. Okay, maybe anything scanned or anything in soft copy, you can still do that. Okay, one thing that some professors advised me, and I read about that in various, it's not in these handouts that I shared with you, but the first step of starting writing your thesis or undertaking research on any particular topic is, the first step is to meet the librarian in that particular topic on which you are working. I'm sure we don't have that kind of expert librarians over here, but what still can work for you is that at least whatever local library you have within your college or outside your college, make sure that whatever material is available over there, you have once browsed that material itself will establish your research context. Okay, and then start looking anywhere else. Okay, so there could be other online resources as well. HEC library, for example, online library. I didn't find it to be much helpful. The material they have, I mean, if I find what I need, I won't find it over here, but they seem to have a lot of material. It might help you people, I mean, but do check it. Okay, I'm sure you will find something helpful over there. There are professional libraries as well. It's really crucial for you to be in touch with the libraries in Lahore, outside your college. You must have membership of those libraries and access to those libraries whenever you want. Um, there is a lot of material over there. The problem with those libraries, the professional libraries which are outside your college, the only the only thing about them is that they kind of don't advertise themselves within institutions, so students usually underestimate them. Okay, so Jinnah library at on Mall, for example, is really rich as far as English literature is, especially English literature until modern times is concerned. Okay, so you all must be members of the library and must have access to the resources over there. Okay, now the purpose of conducting all this research for you is to keep a track of the resources. Okay, if you don't keep a track of them, you probably are losing on all the time that you're investing into it. Okay, it will be just time spent if you don't keep a record of that. So it's totally up to you. You can maintain a log sheet in your computer, or you might have a hard copy of you might have a diary with you. So wherever and whatever resources you get hold of, I mean just their titles, just make a record of them in your log, in your copy diary, or in your computer, on your mobile, wherever you want to do that, because of course you will tend to forget later on where you saw what kind of resource. Okay, and make an entry along with the title, the author, the source, and then the place where you found it. Okay, it was in a library or it was on a website. If it was on a website, take down the website title, website link as well. Okay, you can create a computer file or you can keep it separately. So technically it is called a working bibliography. Okay, that is an evolving bibliography that you are making. All right, so students, this was I know this was a little unexciting material, but this mechanical work matters a lot in the long run as far as conducting your research and writing your paper is concerned. So basically, I want, if any questions, I can pause for that, but then I need to give you an activity. So you want to ask anything?
Sir, I want to add something. Sir, there is there is a digital like there is a software that is personal research assistant, that is the Taro. You can download it from its website. It's free, and it will carry out the file that you are talking about, the file on computer
Okay.
regarding the bibliography.
How do you spell it?
So Taro, sir, it is Z-O,
Oh, zero. Okay. R.
Z-O, Z-O, sir, Zotero.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes. Excellent. And yeah, there are some other as well which are free. You can look for others too. I think I have one installed.
Yes, sir. There is another one, Site Fast.
Yeah, I think it's called BibLink maybe, or yeah, there are quite a number of them. I'm just looking for one which was once in my computer as well, though that didn't help me much, so I never recommend that to anybody.
So Zotero is very much helpful.
Okay, I
Even keeps
I
URL.
I wasn't sure about its effectiveness. Okay, if it is, definitely people should use that. So, but there are others too. In addition to the tarot students, please take a note of it. Saud has suggested this to us. If he has experimented with it, he has some experience with it, then I'm sure it should be helpful for other people as well. I'll have a look at that too. Any